trying to get you over. You like love sour, then you should come try my poison.
And it's that time again. Time for another first chapter. I'm Rodney V. Smith. The V is for versimi. I should have done this better. Versimilitude. Or actually, that's a lie. The V is for verisimilitudinous. And I'm a Wattpad author and star. And also winner of a Waddy Award in 2018 for my book, The Canefield Killer, which is available on Wattpad. So go ahead and, buy it. Read it. It's good. Anyway, I've started this series to kind of profile a lot of my author friends that I've met in Wattpad. There's a lot of really good talent out there, and I want to kind of share them with the world. Now, some of them I've read, and some of them I have not. So tonight, I'll be looking at one of the first chapter in one of the books that I haven't read. But it's just one of those things that happens with author friends. When you have so many author friends, there are so many good books. Now, tonight's author is Alfred Alley. He's one of those cool writer guys that you see around, and through conversations and everything, you kind of learn the character of the person and the intelligence. And he's always just struck me as this really cool guy. So I said I have to take a look at Apartment 239, because he's a big horror writer, and this book is pretty much very well known all across Wattpad. I haven't read this one. That's a big change for this week, since I've gone back a couple times. But so this is going to be my very first time diving into this book, and you guys get to come along with me. So let's take a look. As always, the links are in the description below. Okay, are you ready? And here we go. It would be a really good idea to actually have the book up on screen. I've got too many windows open. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull this bad boy over. And let's read from come on, Wattpad. Of course, this is the time when it goes down. I swear I'm a lot more prepared than this. I'm just going to edit this or something. All right, here we go. You didn't come to watch me type into here. Sorry, Alfred, if you're watching. All right, here we go. This is the synopsis for Apartment 239. Abe Barrett is surrounded by ghosts. Some of them are even his roommates. But now, Abe's vision shows something dark is coming, and it wants Abe dead. The full synopsis goes, when Abe Barrett's family died, he started seeing ghosts. Soon, he was living... where'd the heck that go? Okay. When Abe Barrett's family died, he started seeing ghosts. Soon, he was living with 3 of them. And it turns out ghosts are just as eccentric as people. Abe is bothered by the ghosts constantly, since he doesn't want to solve their murders, avenge them, or do much of anything. He just wants to do his job and relax. His dreams, however, have been getting darker, as people in town start to disappear. Soon, Abe realizes there is something haunting him, and that same threat was involved with his family's deaths. A legacy of darkness is chasing Abe Barrett, and his supernatural roommates may not be enough to save him. Okay, that's a good introduction. Let's get into the book. Now, this is a Wattpad page story, so you do have to pay some coins for it. I can't tell you how much, but it's one of those books, like I said, really well known and is really well worth it. So we're going to see fully what's here. Oh, this has got a prologue. Do prologues count as first chapters? You know what? We may have to do a twofer here. So let's see how long this one is. Okay. Prologue. Father and son. Now, son, Earl said as he ejected the spent round from his rifle. The casing dropped with a slight crinkling sound as it disappeared beneath the leaves. Always remember, nothing goes to waste. The setting sun cast long shadows from the line of trees that stretched across the field in front of their home. This sight of 7 years old, the boy looked at his father, assessing the deep lines in his face and the sideburns peppered with white and gray. Earl's red plaid coat hung loose on his thin yet muscular arms. The boy, short for his age, felt even smaller next to him, and his shock of thick black hair bounced as he nodded, wiped snot from his nose, and desperately tried to blink the tears from his eyes. Hoping his father didn't notice, he glanced up and watched as he pulled off his hat, wiped his brow, and then pulled it back onto his head. I know it seems cruel, but son, sometimes life doesn't make sense, and sometimes, well, it's just not fair. Earl propped the gun against the side of the small white house, located off a dirt road on the outskirts of a small northwestern town called Marble Springs, a place surrounded by trees, cut off from the hum of passing cars. Clothes are a big one. Save what you can. Plus, the cash in the wallet. Never use the cards. Always hide the body. Never in the same place or the same way. The boy nodded, looking at the woman at their feet. Her leg jerked for a moment, causing him to gasp. Just nerves, Earl laughed. Remember, in this world, we're surrounded by copies. Copies? Yes, Earl said solemnly, removing his ball cap again. You're real, and so am I, your mother. He waved the cap at her. She fooled us. The boy looked down at her body, her eyes half open, blood trickling down the corner of her mouth. They'll pretend to be your friends, but you'll have to know who's real and who isn't. How? The boy squeaked. I'll teach you. Earl smiled. Okay, so we're definitely going into chapter 1 here. That's way too short. So, chapter 1. The real chapter 1 this time. Abe Barrett worked for the city of Marble Springs, a small community recently hit hard by an economic downturn. Scarce jobs became scarcer, and Hart and Sons liquor enjoyed record levels of business. That's fun. That's kind of fun to say. Hart and Sons liquor. Okay, scarce jobs became scarcer, and I screwed it up. Okay, scarce jobs became scarcer, and Hart and Sons liquor enjoyed record levels of business. To ease budget woes, the past mayor turned over city work, including Abe's, to a subsidiary of Hart and Sons Inc. Like everyone else in the city, he struggled, but things could be worse. Wow, 2 more than yesterday. Driving home, Abe admired 2 more roadside billboards put up by grieving families looking for missing kin. Along with a flatlined economy, Marble Springs has a problem with mysterious disappearances. While the town has neither a natural spring nor a supply of valuable marble quarries, Marble Springs boasts a surprising number of missing persons cases. For a population hovering around 38,000, nearly 100 people have simply disappeared since 1977. At least he had smiling faces to look at on the drive home. They always chose smiling-faced pictures for the billboards. As a member of the city's now Hart and Sons Parks Department, Abe works with a team dedicated to maintaining the high standard of excellence the Parks Department demands, meaning he keeps the grass cut and trash free. At least the repeal of Mayor John G. Bennington's Make Business Spring in Marble Springs initiative allowed him to enjoy the option of health insurance again, even if Hart and Sons wasn't too keen on keeping things like living wages and overtime. His shirt stuck to his back via layers of sweat and mulch grass. Abe cranked the AC in his 1989's Honda Civic. Despite being well into October, the heat still bore down on the park maintenance crew with no sign of mercy or respect for changing seasons. Abe discarded his hat, stained with a line of pale salt deposits from months of sweat, onto the floorboard. He was finally heading home for the day. Abe turned into Camelot Apartments, a cluster of buildings in a faux castle design hidden behind a growth of pine trees, and as the car creaked over the concrete speed bumps, he glanced over at the complex's newest addition, an overweight man in his mid-50s, perpetually naked, with nothing more than a bath towel covering his shame. Abe waved at Mr. John G. Bennington. Now that's a shame. The former mayor returned his wave enthusiastically. During the second year of his first term, Mayor Bennington decided to save the town by cutting taxes and unnecessary services, followed by necessary services, followed again by all services. His efforts were rewarded with a ball-peen hammer to the back of the head. The mayor often took evening strolls through the rougher neighborhoods on the east side of Marble Springs to show the economically vulnerable he cared through speed walks along their crumbling asphalt roads. It was here that hammer met head. Fortunately, the mayor's attack did not kill him. Short a wallet and functional short-term memory, Mayor Bennington continued to preside over his community. Unfortunately, the swelling in his brain led to a wave of nonsensical disorders, refusal to acknowledge the proper dress code, and no improvement in the latest rash of disappearances. He now lived around the corner from Abe. Abe took a right at the dumpsters and swerved into a spot just in front of Building 2. He looked up at apartment number 239. With the gnarled pecan tree leaning over the roof, bombarding the building in a nightly rain of nuts, twigs, and clumsy squirrels. He turned the key, and the engine breathed a final, halting gasp. Jamming the keys into his pocket, he pulled himself from the rusting sky-blue car and slammed the door. Running his hand along the metal railing as he ascended the stairs, the anxiety started to creep in. The anxiety started to seep in. Abe Barrett had no roommates, on paper at least. But through his current squatters, he learned plenty about the multitude of missing people in Marble Springs. He knew the common explanations, such as UFOs or the monster in Town Lake. He knew the media rarely paid any attention, especially with the 10th anniversary of the 726 on the horizon. He knew the police typically shrugged and said, "Maybe they left and moved to Dallas," when confronted with the growing tally of vanished citizens. There were theories as to why no one outside the town or within it seemed concerned. One involved the 726 children that disappeared in one night from across the United States. The theory was this great unsolved horror 10 years prior simply made Marble Springs tragedies seem small. But his roomies had a simpler, more disturbing explanation. A serial killer operating in an economically depressed town populated with people without the means to donate to campaigns or start businesses. People whom, as far as the town's leaders were concerned, never really existed to begin with. So, who would notice if they went missing? Abe's roommates made a lot of sense, he hated to admit. But the reason he feared entering his apartment was because he'd ignored his roommates' requests. As a result, they had stepped up their campaign of terror. Would he be greeted with bleeding walls, or possibly eyeless raves and mournful shrieks? Abe took a breath and opened the door. Okay, that is it for That's it for chapter 1 of apartment 239. You kind of got a nice little cliffhanger there. Makes me want to go to the next page. So got to say, good job there, Alfred. Now, later this evening, I'm actually going to be talking to Alfred, and I think that interview is going to be up tomorrow. But I wanted to get him on to talk here after the book. But now that I've read this, I have some questions to ask him. So, to that, I guess it's just time to call this a night and get ready for the interview. If you've enjoyed listening to the first chapter and you want to hear more, go ahead and subscribe and leave a like down below. All of the links and links to social media and where you can find the book are in the description down below. So go ahead and give it a click. I have been Rodney V. Smith. The V is for I'm not gonna say it again. I'm just gonna say good night. Good night.
My love is like a flower. I'm trying to get you over. You like love sour, then you should come try my